Hello children, welcome back to our Bible for Kids channel. Today we're going to continue our amazing journey through the Old Testament and discover one of the most beautiful and touching stories in the entire Bible. The story of baby Moses. This story is all about faith, courage, and God's protection, even in the hardest times. So get comfortable, open your hearts, and let's travel back in time to see how a tiny baby was saved by a miracle. After the story of Joseph, who saved Egypt and his own family from hunger, the people of Israel, the descendants of Jacob, continued to live in Egypt. They grew in number and became a large and strong nation. But as the years went by, the Pharaoh who loved Joseph died, and a new Pharaoh came to power. This new king did not know Joseph, and didn't remember the good he had done for Egypt. When the new Pharaoh looked around and saw the Israelites, he became afraid. There are so many of them, he thought. What if they turn against us one day? What if they become stronger than the Egyptians? So Pharaoh made a terrible decision. He turned the Israelites into slaves. The Israelites were forced to build great cities, temples and monuments under the hot desert sun. They carried heavy stones, mixed mud, made bricks, and worked all day under the orders of shouting Egyptian overseers. Life was very hard for them, but even with all the suffering, the people of Israel kept growing in number. God was with them, and their families multiplied more and more. Pharaoh grew even more worried. If they keep growing like this, he said, they'll outnumber us. I must stop them somehow. Then Pharaoh had a terrible and cruel idea. He gave an order that every baby boy born to the Hebrews should be killed. It was a dark and frightening time, but even then, God already had a plan. In the middle of this time of fear and sadness, a woman from the Hebrew people named Jochebed became pregnant. She was married to a man named Amram, and they already had 2 children, Miriam, a smart and kind girl, and Aaron, a loving older brother. When Jochebed found out she was going to have another baby, she was happy, but also very afraid. What if it's a boy, she thought. The Pharaoh's soldiers are taking all the boys away. But even though she was scared, Jochebed trusted God. She believed that the Lord was powerful enough to protect her child. When the time came, her baby was born. And yes, it was a boy. A beautiful baby boy, with bright eyes and a sweet little face. The moment Jochebed held him in her arms, she knew deep in her heart that God had a special purpose for this child. She decided she would do everything she could to protect him. For 3 months, Jochebed hid her baby at home. She kept him quiet, rocked him gently, and little Miriam helped watch the door, so no one would find out. But as the baby grew, he began to cry louder, and Jochebed realized she couldn't hide him forever. Then she had a brave idea, one that came straight from God. She took a basket made of reeds, coated it with tar and pitch so it would float, and made it into a tiny ark. She laid a soft blanket inside, placed her baby in the basket, and with tears in her eyes, carried it to the Nile River. She set the basket gently among the tall reeds by the riverbank. Before walking away, she prayed softly, "Lord, I place my baby in your hands. Please watch over him wherever he goes." And little Miriam, the baby's big sister, stayed hidden nearby, watching to see what would happen. That very same day, Pharaoh's daughter, the princess of Egypt, came down to the river to take a bath. As she walked along the shore, she noticed something floating among the reeds. "Look," she said to her maidservants, "there's a basket in the water." One of her servants went and brought it to her. When the princess opened the basket, she saw a beautiful baby boy crying softly. Her heart was touched. "This must be one of the Hebrew babies," she said. "But he's so beautiful I can't let him die." Just then Miriam, who had been watching from behind the reeds, bravely stepped forward and spoke to the princess. "Your Highness," she said, Would you like me to find a Hebrew woman to nurse the baby for you?" The princess smiled kindly. "Yes," she said. "Go and find someone." And guess who Miriam went to get? Her very own mother, Jochebed. What an amazing miracle! The princess, without knowing it, told the baby's real mother to take care of him, and even promised to pay her for it. "Take this baby and nurse him for me," said the princess. "I will reward you." Jochebed's heart filled with joy and gratitude to God. She could now raise her baby safely, feed him, and shower him with love. She knew her son was special, and as he grew, she taught him about the true God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When the boy grew older, Jochebed brought him back to the palace, just as she had promised. The princess adopted him as her own son and gave him the name Moses, which means drawn out of the water. Moses grew up in the Egyptian palace, surrounded by riches, servants, and the best teachers in the land. He learned to read, write, and lead as a prince of Egypt. But even though he lived in the palace, he never forgot who he really was. Deep in his heart, Moses knew he belonged to the Hebrew people, the same people who were suffering as slaves. God was preparing him for something very special, something that would change the history of his people forever. But that part of the story will come later in our journey through the Old Testament. The story of baby Moses shows us how God takes care of every detail. When it seemed impossible to save that little boy, God used even Pharaoh's daughter to protect him. Nothing can stop God's love and power. He watches over his children, even when the world seems dark or unfair. Jochebed was a brave mother who trusted God completely. And because of her faith, Moses survived, and grew up to become the great leader God had chosen to free his people. Children, this wonderful story teaches us many important lessons. 1. God always has a plan, even when things look bad. 2. Faith and courage can change everything. 3. No evil is stronger than God's love. 4. Sometimes miracles happen in small and simple ways, like a baby floating in a basket. God was with Moses from the very beginning, and he is with you too, every single day. And that's today's story, kids. Baby Moses was saved by God in a miraculous way, and he grew up to fulfill an incredible mission. If you liked this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode of our Old Testament journey. Next time, we'll discover what happened when Moses grew up and how God called him to one of the greatest adventures in the Bible. See you soon, friends. And remember, God takes care of us from the very moment we are born.